For most people across the world, North Korea remains a mystery and is often called the modern-day Hermit Kingdom, not only because of the geographical location, but also because of very few people come in and few people go out. If you think about North Korea, most people think about grand military parades, an unwavering cult of personality, and the totalitarian and secretive regime. And taking a look at the news, North Korea doesn't really have the best reputation with their ongoing conflicts with the United States. But what many people forget is that beyond the headlines lies a nation of people. People who, unlike their southern neighbors that live in a technologically advanced society, are living a life under the watchful eye of a totalitarian regime. Therefore, North Korea is also often called the most totalitarian state to ever exist, and a lot of people call it worse than Hitler's Germany or Stalin's Russia. And this all happens on the backs of the people that face unimaginable lives with no escape. Welcome to Past Perspectives, and today we take a look at the horrifying realities that North Korean citizens face daily, and we dive deep into the atrocities the regime is trying to hide from the outside world. But before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you never miss another video. The history of North Korea began after World War II when it split from South Korea in 1945. Following the surrender of Japan, the Soviet Union took control of the northern half, while the United States did the same with the South. Initially, the division was meant to be temporary, but over the following years, the different ideologies that have been pressed on the country soon made the split permanent. In North Korea, Kim Il-sung, who was a famous figure from the anti-Japanese resistance, established himself as the premier, with the help of the Soviet Union. His unique leadership style, combined with a carefully crafted cult around his person, laid the foundation for the Kim dynasty, a lineage that would continue to influence the direction of North Korea up to this day. Under Kim Il-sung's reign, North Korea established a unique governance system, which is the Juche ideology. This ideology emphasizes self-reliance and independence from all other countries and became the cornerstone of North Korean policy. Originally, it was meant to be a safety measure to not be dependent on other countries. However, in a world that got more and more globalized, this made them isolated from trade and was a heavy burden on their economy. On the other side, it also gave the regime a way to control its power and stay in charge for over 75 years now. One of the main ways the North Korean regime keeps its power is with the so-called Songbun System. Established in the 1950s, shortly after the Korean War, this system has become a way to classify their citizen into categories and maintain control over them. The Songbun System, which translates to ingredient or constituent, is a classification that ranks North Korean citizens based on their families' perceived loyalty to the regime. It goes back to the early days of Kim Il-sung's leadership, when the government undertook a massive survey of the political beliefs and backgrounds of its citizens, which also helped them to weed out potential threats and eliminate them from society. But we are going to talk about that in detail later on. The system divides its citizens in three main categories: core, wavering, and hostile. Each of these categories is further subdivided into over 50 classifications, but for now, these three are the most important. The core class consists of those deemed the most loyal to the regime, often those with revolutionary or pro-regime backgrounds. The wavering class includes individuals whose loyalty might be questionable, and the hostile class includes those who are seen as potential threats based on their families' historical, religious, or political backgrounds. The rank of a North Korean citizen in this system is incredibly important for them, as it affects nearly every aspect of their lives, from where they can live to the kind of job they can hold. Those in the core class often have access to the best opportunities, including better healthcare, higher education, better housing, and more prestigious jobs. Some even might get the chance to live in the capital city, Pyongyang, which for North Koreans is an honor that is not offered to many. On the other side, those that are in the hostile category face discrimination and limited opportunities and are often located in the poorest regions of the countries. At the same time, they are more likely to face surveillance, arbitrary detention, and other forms of repression. Generally speaking, the Songbun System is a tool of total social control, ensuring that loyalty to the regime is rewarded, while dissent or even perceived disloyalty is severely punished. Basically, the Korean regime built themselves a flywheel to incentivize their citizens to be loyal to the system. Otherwise, they are going to face a hard and cruel life. Therefore, the fear of being classified to a lower Songbun category and all the consequences that come with it becomes like a Damocles sword that's constantly hanging over every citizen's. This immense pressure makes people confirm their beliefs to the regime in various ways, from participating in state-sanctioned events to reporting on neighbors or even family members who might show disloyal behavior. This limits people heavily from saying their opinion, wearing the clothes they want, or even obtaining knowledge that is forbidden. Now, speaking of forbidden knowledge, North Korea's approach to information is one of the most strict ones in the world. The regime has created an information bubble that only shows information that has been approved by the government. This way, they ensure that only state-sanctioned narratives reach the ears and eyes of its population. To do so, they control all media outlets, from newspapers to television to radio. This means that all news, entertainment, and educational content is filtered through a state-approved lens. At the same time, they don't have access to the internet, as the rest of the world has access to it. Instead, there is a national intranet that provides limited and heavily curated content. Therefore, foreign publications, websites, and broadcasts are largely inaccessible, ensuring that the worldview of North Korea is exclusively shaped by the regime's narrative. Now, despite these barriers, there are also whispers of the outside world that manage to slip in. Smuggled DVDs, illicit radio broadcasts, and stories that paint a picture beyond the nation's borders. However, getting access to this information is incredibly risky. The consequences of being caught with forbidden content, or even just expressing the desire to get access to it, can be hard, often leading to imprisonment in one of North Korea's notorious prison camps. The North Korean prison camp system is a vast network of detention facilities that range from short-term holding centers to long-term labor camps. These camps are extremely hidden and shrouded in secrecy, and there is not a lot of available information available to the outside world. However, there are defectors and satellite imagery that have provided insights into their grim realities. Reports show that inmates in these camps face a life that is almost unimaginable to the outside world. The hard labor faced is grueling and often involves working long hours in mines, logging forests, or farming fields with rudimentary tools. The physical toll of such labor leaves many in a state of constant exhaustion and deteriorating health. The food provided is often meager, consisting of basic grains or watery soups, and they are definitely not meeting the nutritional needs of the prisoners, especially if they are doing intense physical labor. In these camps, starvation is a common threat, and there are even reports that some inmates were driven to eating grass, insects, or even cannibalism in the most desperate situations. But there is more than hard work and poor food. Prison guards are known for their brutal punishments, even for minor problems, and they use methods that are designed to instill fear and obedience in the inmate. Torture, public humiliation, and arbitrary executions are signs for other inmates that the regime holds absolute power. But it gets worse than that. The North Korean prison camps are known for their policy of guilt by association, and this is not just for other prison inmates. In North Korea, the sins can condemn the entire family. Parents, siblings, and even children can find themselves imprisoned because of the actions of one family member. This policy is again rooted in the strategy that everybody needs to be obedient to the regime, because knowing that one's actions could result in the suffering of loved ones creates a powerful psychological barrier against any form of resistance or rebellion. And despite these horrifying punishments, there are also stories of people who manage to escape these high-security prison camps. Defectors who, after enduring these hardships, found their way to freedom are often traveling to multiple countries before finding peace. At the same time, these defectors are one of the only first-hand sources we have to get a glimpse of what is happening inside the Hermit Kingdom. But beyond the prison walls, the regime has other ways to showcase its power to its people and the world through its grand public demonstrations. North Korea's public demonstrations, often broadcasted into the entire world, are staged as massive events. The streets of Pyongyang are filled with synchronized marches, colossal floats, and a sea of citizens waving their flags, all under the watchful eyes of the nation leaders. As you can probably imagine, These events are not spontaneous expressions of patriotism, like the government wants to make them look like. They are meticulously choreographed displays of power by the state. The reasons behind such demonstrations are clear. Firstly, they want to show their strength to the international community and portray North Korea as a united nation that has everything they need, despite the economic sanctions and the international isolation. Additionally, these demonstrations reinforce loyalty to the regime. The participation in these events is often mandatory and is further used to instill loyalty in the population. The sheer scale and precision of these demonstrations are meant to instill a sense of pride and at the same time remind the citizen about the power the regime holds. For the average North Korean, these events are a blend of pride, fear, and a sense of duty. The message is clear. The state is powerful, the nation is united, and loyalty is paramount. And while they want to show their strength to the world, it's clear that they are going through massive economic challenges. In fact, the North Korean economy is the exact opposite of these demonstrations. See, North Korea's economy is primarily based on state-owned enterprises and collective farms. While the country itself is rich in natural resources like coal, iron, and minerals, the nation struggles to capitalize on them due to their outdated infrastructure and technological advancements. As I said earlier, these economic policies are rooted in the Juche ideology of self-reliance. However, they have often been shown to be very inefficient and cause stagnation in the county. For example, the heavy focus on heavy industries came at the cost of consumer goods and has resulted in shortages of even the most basic necessities. Additionally, the denial of market reforms, together with limited foreign investments, has further slowed down economic growth. And while this all sounds very theoretical, let's take a look at how this shows consequences to the average North Korean citizen. One of the most pressing and harrowing issues of these economic challenges is food scarcity. First of all, there is the geographical problem of North Korea, as it mostly consists of mountains, so there is not much land to grow food. At the same time, the tools and methods they use to farm are extremely outdated, and on top of that, there are frequent natural disasters like floods and droughts, making it extremely hard for agriculture to work for all of the citizens. At the same time, the government's decisions are making things harder. Instead of using their money to build or buy farming tools, they spend most of their money on their army. To address this, the government has created a public distribution system for food, and while this has worked for quite a few years, it has now become inconsistent and it forced people to find alternative ways of survival. This has led to an increase in unofficial markets and people creating their own farms, even though such activities are forbidden in North Korea and could get you imprisoned. To combat this food shortage, some Koreans need to take multiple jobs just to make ends meet. Other countries and groups have tried to help by giving food aid to North Korea, but a lot of the times the North Korean government makes it impossible for these groups to check if the food is actually reaching the people who need it most. At the same time, we can see that the resources are allocated extremely differently. While most of the resources go to people that are in the core category of the Songbun System, which can be seen if we look at the wealth level of cities like Pyongyang, and the ones in the lower categories have to fight over scraps. And to put it in simple terms, the system of Juche is simply not working out for large parts of the North Korean population, as even the most basic necessities like food are scarce. Situations like this have also put North Korea on the radar of human rights organizations because they are sure that they are not caring about them at all. They lack free speech, face harsh punishments, have no freedom to move around, and they don't even have basic necessities like food. The North Korean government, on the other side, sees these things differently. They neglect these reports and claim that they are either straight out false or exaggerated. At the same time, they argue that their way of governing is right for their country and that outsiders should not interfere. But the stories from defectors and evidence from various sources have painted a concerning picture. This has led to a lot of criticism of North Korea from other countries and international organizations. Thank you for joining us today at Past Perspectives as we dived into the horrifying things that are currently happening to the North Korean citizen. If you want to never miss another video, make sure to subscribe to our channel, and with that being said, thanks for watching, and until next time.